guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Tuesday Sketchbook Study. Today is going to be all about Cubism. Before we jump into today's video, I want to remind you guys to go and look at last Tuesday's sketchbook study video, which was all about Dadaism, if you haven't seen that already. And also, I want to go ahead and throw out that if you want to follow along with this video, I definitely recommend it. And if you do, I would love for you guys to tag me in photos of your work. I'd be so excited to see it. All you have to do is tag Artwork by Peyton on Instagram or Facebook. Or heck, you can email me if you'd like to do that, which is artworkbypeyton@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out my website if you're interested in purchasing any of the work you see on this channel. Without further ado, let's do this. Okay guys, like always, I want to start off with the definition of Cubism so that we're all on the same page. And the definition I have is an early 20th century style and movement in art in which perspective with a single point of view was abandoned and use was made of simple geometric interlocking planes and later collage. The artist known for Cubism, of course, the all-famous Pablo Picasso. I think he's the first person that comes to mind when we think about Cubism. And then Georges Braque. I think I said his name. It looks like George's, but I think it's Georges Braque. Juan Gris, Albert Glacis, and Salvador Dali, which I was really shocked. I'm sure I just butchered some of those names, but I didn't know that Salvador Dali was famous for all of these different movements besides Surrealism. But he was around for a while and he dabbled in a bunch of stuff, so I guess it only makes sense. So throughout this video, like always, I'm going to be giving you the facts that I found out through my research and also talking about the pieces that I'm creating in my sketchbook. These pieces that I created in my sketchbook, I didn't use a ruler for my geometric shapes. I kind of wanted to stick to more organic, like a more organic feel. They're still very geometric and cubist, but you can tell that they're done by hand instead of with a straight edge, and that's what I was going for. So I put my own little spin. I don't know if they always used straight edges for their geometric shapes, but I'm fairly certain that they did. Anyways, this is my spin on it. I had a ruler, just chose not to use it. You can even see it right there in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. So, anyways, this movement and style was primarily created by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in Paris between 1907 and 1914. Cubist style emphasized the flat two-dimensional surface of the picture plane. They rejected the traditional techniques of perspective, foreshortening, modeling, and the idea that art should imitate nature. So they decided, to heck with all that, we are going to create our own reality and what we want the world to look like in our heads. They didn't feel bound to imitate form, color, space, or texture. They were, like I just said, creating new realities with fragmented objects and subjects. From 1910 to 1912, when the movement was developing, that period is often called analytical cubism. This is when you can see in Braque and Picasso's work that they are breaking down and analyzing the forms themselves. So it was really that was their main focus, was studying what subjects and objects were made out of in only geometric shapes. Both artists, Braque and Picasso, favored right angles and straight lines in their construction of pieces. This is one of the reasons why I feel like they probably used a straight edge for sure. They simplified their colors to an almost monochrome type of piece, using hues of tan, brown, gray, blue, green, and cream. Each work presented complex views from multiple different angles. These multiple angles brought overlapping opaque and transparent planes to the pieces. So throughout this video, you will see me turning the pieces, or the subjects that I am working off of. So this was a little succulent plant, and I continuously turned it throughout the whole time I was sketching it. And then while I was painting it, I made sure that the areas that I painted overlapped and became either opaque or transparent. I liked keeping it mostly transparent, but having more build-up layers. And then once I was done, this piece, I actually, as you can see, I took a pen to it because I painted this in watercolor. And as I was overlapping certain shapes, their lines sort of disappeared a little bit. So I just wanted to pull those out again. And for this next one, I'm drawing my little cactuses. I love them so much. I love all my plants. I'm a crazy plant lady. So through this one, I turn it as well and try to get different perspectives. That way I can have those multiple angles and different perspective points and have those overlapping opaque and transparent planes. So forms are usually closer together and more dense towards the center of Cubist works and diffuse as they move towards the edges. I was fairly simplistic about my drawings. I didn't go from center to out to the edges in the same manner. However, in my first piece, you can see that all of the shapes are tighter and closer together in the center, and then they become more open and spread apart towards the edges. But some of the Cubist works have like tiny little shards towards the end, or the edges of their work, almost to the point where you almost don't know if they were actually there in real life and if they just added them for aesthetic effect, or if they were actually something that they just way simplified down to these tiny little shards of shape. I didn't do that, but you know, experimenting and creating our own pieces from these styles. So I think the more we go into these Tuesday Sketchbook studies, I think it's a cool and interesting idea to take the general style from these movements, but to create our little pieces in our own way, with our own flair. Because we're not trying to copy, we're trying to be influenced by these movements, and I think that that's really neat. After 1912 is referred to as synthetic cubism. These works emphasized the combination of forms, which I kind of got that from the analytical cubism as well, but I guess they were more concerned with combining the forms than just breaking down the forms. I don't know. I'm not an art expert and we're learning together, so if you have a different take on this, definitely drop a comment down below, because I think it would be interesting to hear everybody's take on this movement. and also find out what your opinions are. So drop a comment down below for sure. The synthetic cubism time period also had a strong role with color. So color plays a strong role. Instead of doing the more monochromatic color hues, they used a lot more color, and the shapes become larger and more decorative, but stay just as flat and fragmented as the analytical cubist time period. But the colors were way more in your face, saturated, poppy, and so that's the difference between the two. I think that when we think about Cubism, what's funny is, at least for me, when I think about Cubism, my first thought is, I believe the painting is called Woman with Guitar. I will put it up right now. Yes, and it's actually called Woman with Guitar, and it was created by Georges Braque. But that's what I think about when I think of Cubism, are those monochromatic colors and shapes. And that is actually, I believe, part of the analytical cubist period. I cannot talk today. But then there's always Pablo Picasso's famous paintings like this one. I'm totally going to butcher the name, but I believe it's Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. I don't know, that could be totally wrong. But this painting is very much so synthetic cubism. You can tell because the colors are not monochromatic in feel at all. And also, even the forms are not so analytically structured. So this is a Picasso. And so I tried to bring in some unusual colors into my paintings, some pop. Obviously the plants are green because the plants are green, but I try not to be too, I don't know, too analytical about the exact tones and all of that. I just wanted them to flow over each other and have a nice translucent appearance. And I also wanted to give them such poppy colors so that the forms themselves would kind of pop out of the piece. And then with this one, I went back and I drew in all the lines again with my pen, just like I did the first one. I just really like the way it looks, you know, it kind of pulls the lines back out of the painting. And I thought it was interesting how the different colors kind of laid on top of each other within the different shapes, because, you know, even in the cactuses, you can see that the actual pot that they're sitting in, I painted orange straight through those cactuses, as well as the lines that indicated that the pot was there. And I just really enjoyed how they all kind of meshed together, and I don't know, I had a lot of fun with this sketchbook study. I think this was probably the most enjoyable one that we've done so far. I don't know, the Dada movement was really cool, and I did enjoy doing that sketchbook study. I think Cubism was one of the most influential movements ever, and I don't know, I just had a great time and I loved it. So these are what they look like afterwards. I think this one's cute as a button, and I really like this one. I love the colors. I don't know, I'm proud. I like them. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Also drop a comment below if you have something to add to the whole Cubism study sesh that we had today. If you know something that I didn't say, I'd love to hear it. Also, don't forget to check out next Tuesday's video. We're going to be talking all about surrealism. I will see you guys this Friday for our Friday video, and then again next Tuesday for that surrealism video. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you later. Bye!